It's time once again for That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ, where business becomes show business. Jamie is a leading Tampa Bay real estate agent and featured on the Wall Street Journal's list of top 100 real estate agents in the nation. Jamie invites you to list your home with him today and learn more at tampabayradio.com. Now, live in studio and promoting the entrepreneurial spirit that drives the American economy, your host, Jamie Maloney.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. And Fridays means it's Focus Fridays, where we talk with Julianne Nichols, CEO of the Focus on You strategy, bringing out the CEO in you. And you can learn more about her at focusonustrategy.com and register for one of her upcoming CEO exchanges, the next one being September 1st, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. over at the C1 Bank on West Shore. So, Julianne, welcome to the program today.
Hey, Jamie. Great to be here.
So, for the audience that's not familiar with the CEO exchanges, tell them a little bit more about what these are and the value behind them.
CEO exchanges are for chief entrepreneurial officers who are business owners, managers who have challenges that they're trying to overcome. They can come to this 2-hour session. Lunch is usually provided, and actually, if it's over lunch, it's always provided. And they can present a challenge, and everybody gives feedback. And it's just a great way to kind of get some resources and resolution for a challenge that's been keeping you up at night. So
a great peer-to-peer group to really kind of air out some of the difficulties that you're having in your business. And one of the challenges of the group is after you air out your difficulty, you got to sit back and remain quiet so to receive the feedback.
That's always the hardest part.
I imagine it is. Now, you have a new thing coming up called Focus 57. Tell us about this.
Yeah, Focus 57 is what we found was between Labor Day and Thanksgiving, there are actually 57 work days. And if you haven't gotten any of your goals done in 2016 yet, and you're still trying to figure that out, or you're just in overwhelmed status, feeling stuck, this is an opportunity. You have 57 days to get this done before the end of the year. And we're going to have it's a daily webinar that you can go online. There's a special for TBBO members for $189. They can sign up for that. It starts the day after Labor Day and goes till the day before Thanksgiving. It's a daily webinar that's going to get you in CEO mindset and get you to where you want to be and get some of these things knocked out. And
also you can continue the conversation after the show on the Facebook group Focus Fridays. Anybody's welcome to join that. A lot of good polls and good questions in there. So be sure to visit Facebook as well and look up the Focus Fridays group in addition to the website focusonustrategy.com. Julianne, today we're going to be talking about proper record keeping, bookkeeping. We've got Britt Gallipo in studio today, owner of Business Builders Bookkeeping. First off, Julianne, tell me a little bit more about Britt.
Britt is an amazing bookkeeper. She has been in the construction industry, correct, Britt?
Yes.
And been focusing on that. And she every business needs one of these. It needs a bookkeeper.
Right.
And Britt's going to talk to you today about how she,
how she keeps everything straight.
Yeah.
And dealing with business owners. I tell you, I do not envy your job because I don't know how you can go into different people's businesses and keep keep all their records straight, because no two business owners do the exact same thing, especially when you're dealing with the small business owner who really doesn't have any type of system or anything in the beginning. They're just kind of, they focus on just doing the job. And I mean, I can imagine like corporate bookkeeping a little bit easier. They have their systems and their processes in place, but the average entrepreneur, they got their shoebox and they got their bank statement. So, Britt, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So, first off, how did you start working with Julianne?
Well, I'm a member of a group called the National Association of Women in Construction, and we have a monthly dinner meeting where we invite speakers. And one month, Julianne was invited to be a speaker. So, right before the meeting, the person who brought Julianne in started passing out a questionnaire. And usually when people start passing out questionnaires, that's my cue to go hide in the bathroom. But I decided I was going to stick it out. And I was just fascinated because her way of drawing out people's business challenges and drawing out possible solutions to those challenges is really creative.
And you attended a CEO exchange then?
Yes, she invited me to a CEO exchange. I had some challenges I was trying to work through. I was trying to grow my business. I'm still trying to grow my business. And I was trying to decide whether to add an employee, and I got a lot of great feedback.
Now, what is the history behind your business? Are you a solopreneur? Do you have a team behind you now? Just take me through a little bit about the background of your business.
I'm a solopreneur. I have been, like Julianne said, in the construction industry for about 13 years. A few years ago, I decided that I was going to break out and do something a little different. like you said, working for just one person, you kind of get into a groove.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted some new challenges, so I contract myself out to different businesses. And
now, you worked in the construction industry, but do you work in any type of business right now for clients that are listening? Do you handle books for any type of business, or does it need to be contractor or construction related?
any type of business, obviously, contracting and construction are my sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a couple of nonprofits. I have a medical office.
What makes the construction and the contracting business so unique with regard to bookkeeping? Why is that like a niche, and why wouldn't you just market it? Because to me, bookkeeping is bookkeeping, it seems to me.
Oh.
Tell me about why construction is so niche-y within the bookkeeping business.
Well, construction is different because of, well, first of all, if you've ever been in the construction business for more than 10 minutes at a time, you've heard the expression cash is king.
Mm-hmm.
So most businesses can get by on reasonable cash flow. Construction businesses almost have to be a bank as well as a construction business.
Mm-hmm.
From time to time, they will end up carrying a project along with the cash flow because they've applied for a payment that hasn't been released yet, but then there are all the downstream suppliers who still have to be paid.
Right, because they work off of draws a lot of times,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I understand that. So they had to wait on that money to come through. So if they don't have adequate cash on hand, then they're going to go out of business, which
They are
is
going to go out of business.
unfortunately a common problem in construction. A lot of business owners don't survive in that business. It's a very challenging business to compete in. How's the marketplace with returns to the contractors that are out there, and what have you seen over the last several years with contractors in business?
It's starting to bounce back. You know, we had a few really rough years after 2008, and we had a lot of guys go out of business. But it's starting to bounce back. It's starting to get stronger. I don't want to start throwing parties yet, but
Right.
I'm noticing that people's cash flow and people's profit and loss are really improving.
So why did you hire Focus on You Strategy and Julianne Nichols?
Well, because I really related to Julianne, and because I related to her way of coaching me to... She always makes it feel like it's my idea.
Right?
It is your idea.
She asks good questions, and she helps me come to conclusions that I might not come to if I didn't have somebody asking those kinds of questions.
Julianne, when Britt first came to you at a CEO exchange and then ultimately for a consultation, what did you see in her? What opportunities did you see in her that you could help her improve upon?
Well, as you can tell, she's very knowledgeable about her industry. And she's been doing this for how many years have you been doing this now?
13
years. Yeah. So having done it for 13 years, she undervalued herself. And it's typical. Solopreneurs do this. They just are technical people, and as we talk about in the E-Myth, that, you know, they're just doing, but they aren't doing anything to get past just being the technical person. So she understood that. She understood that she is a solopreneur and she wants more. She wants some more time with her family, and, you know, all these things that keep us from, we either have to work on the business or the family, and we're trying to get that balance, you know, of how we can do that. So knowing that we can't do it all, so her big step now is hiring people, and we're focusing on that and expanding. Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about the role of a bookkeeper. It seems pretty cut and dry what a bookkeeper does, but how does that differ from the role of an accountant? And are you an accountant for the business?
I am not an accountant.
Okay.
An accountant is generally going to be focused on two things. An accountant is going to want to make sure that your year-end profit and loss statements are correct, and they're going to want to make sure that your tax return is filed correctly.
Now, do most accountants kind of just work with bookkeeping hand in hand? It kind of goes with the position, and so, but your business is separate from the accounting role. Why would somebody want to have like a bookkeeper and an accountant separate?
They a lot of accounting firms do have bookkeepers in-house. The benefit of having a bookkeeper as well as an accountant is that a bookkeeper is kind of there to walk the walk with you. And they are there to keep you organized along the way. They're there to make sure everything makes it into the computer. They're there to make sure that you don't have the shoebox at the end of the year.
Because I think a lot of business owners just send the bank statements to the accountants and say, here's all my debits and credits right here. Just fill them in for me, and they don't really necessarily know where they go.
Exactly.
They get by with it, but a bookkeeper really knows the ins and outs of the business, and you're working there hand in hand. Do you become like an employee of the business almost? But you're still an independent contractor, at least with your business set up, correct?
I'm still an independent contractor, but yes, it's very much like being an employee of the business. And, you know, some businesses, it's almost like being a therapist because you have to handhold.
Right. So most people use QuickBooks for their small business. I mean, QuickBooks is pretty easy. I mean, do you generally take control of the program at 100% and take that pressure off of the contractors and your clients to even have to even learn how to use QuickBooks?
It depends on what their comfort level is. You know, a lot of people don't want to be bothered with it at all, and they do want me to do everything. But then some people like to have their fingers in it. And, you know, QuickBooks is very easy to use, and that's very empowering. But you come to a point sometimes where you don't know what to do, and if you make the wrong choice, it can have repercussions.
It's easy to use for the person who understands bookkeeping. I know
Yes.
The first time I looked at QuickBooks, I was like, what in the hell is this? So
Right.
It took me a while, and I had to go to some classes.
How do you know which category to put it in? And you know, and you had an example of this that we were talking about the other day about the difference between auto and truck accounts.
Yeah, I had a client call me. Her CPA had set up her chart of accounts, which is the list of accounts you can put things into. She called me. She had just bought a new service van, and she didn't know. She called me and she said, I have 2 auto and truck accounts. Which one do I put this into? Is there a difference? Is this a mistake? Is it duplicated? Do I put one truck into one account and one truck into the other account? So after asking a few questions and digging into it a little deeper, we figured out that one auto and truck account was an asset account, and that's like a bucket where you keep the things that are of value to the business. So the value of the cars and trucks that the business owned were in that account. And then the other account was an expense account where you put the day-to-day expenses of running the vehicles, the fuel, the service, and so on. So what she was going to do, in her mind, expense equals money out. So she was going to put it in the expense account. She was going to write a check for this brand new service van for $45,000 and just stick it into her expense account, which, you know, first of all, would have made her profit and loss look terrible because she'd be making $45,000 less than she thought she was. And second of all, would have created an issue when her accountant came in at the end of the year to do the books, because if she had done what she wanted to do and just merged those 2 accounts, he would have had to spend several hours trying to separate which transactions were which. And, you know, you don't really want to be paying somebody $300 an hour to go through every single one of your transactions and figure out which belongs in which account.
Speaking of cost there, how does a bookkeeping cost compare to the accountant's cost in terms of, you know, just daily costs?
We cost a lot less. We're not cheap, but we don't charge $300 an hour.
And I think that's the misconception a lot of people think of when they think of bookkeeping. They think it's just the role of the accountant, the CPA. They don't realize that there is bookkeepers out there that are far cheaper than the accountants out there, and you can have this, you know, in your business for a very good investment into the business. So let me take a break here. We got a lot more about this topic throughout the hour on this Focus Fridays edition of That Business Show. In studio again with Britt Gallipo, owner of Business Builders Bookkeeping. You can learn more about her services at businessbuildersbookkeeping.com, and also more about Julianne Nichols, the CEO of Focus on You Strategy, bringing out the CEO in you at focusonyoustrategy.com. You're listening to That Business Show. Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. In an age when the good and the better vie for attention, it is the best that stands out. The best of Tampa Bay from Proudly Florida is the love story for the city of Tampa, celebrating success, sharing achievements, a tribute to enterprise and community spirit. Let Proudly Florida showcase your business to your city, your nation, and the world. For more information, email info@proudlyflorida.com and be sure to visit proudlyflorida.com.
Who doesn't have a smartphone these days? And of course, there's an app for everything. Well, almost everything. That's why the folks at Popcorn Apps started developing mobile applications. They saw people like you with genius ideas, unable to make those thoughts a reality. They develop applications for tens of thousands of dollars less than you'll find anywhere else, and will turn your idea into a reality in a matter of just a few months. Think you're not ready? Think again. They are your one-stop shop for mobile application development. See them at popcornapps.com with a K in popcorn, or call them at 727-415-6705 for your free consultation and pop your kernel of an idea into $1 million business and a world changer starting today.
I knew Mom wanted to stay at home. It's the center of her family, her life. But helping Mom stay in her home while managing mine was just too much. Honestly, it wasn't just about me. Mom didn't want me to be her caretaker. She wanted me to be her daughter. I felt so alone until I found out about Home Instead Senior Care. When we met the people at Home Instead, we just knew they were different. The experience was personal. And most importantly, for Mom and me, I get to be her daughter again.
Home Instead Senior Care. To us, it's personal.
How many times have you said to yourself, I wish there was an app for that? Stop wishing and start making the world better. Turn your brilliant idea into a profitable business by using Popcorn apps. Their affordable app design will help get your blue sky idea or proven business to the next level at a fraction of the cost of other developers. They will help you get through all the steps needed to make your thoughts become live. See them at popcornapps.com with a K in popcorn, or call them at 727-415-6705 for your free consultation and pop your kernel of an idea into $1 million business and a world changer starting today.
At Vein 911, we will help you feel great again. Do you have restless legs, night leg cramps, or ankle swelling? Restless legs, cramping, swelling, and tired heavy legs are often symptoms of hidden vein disease. You do not have to have visible bulging veins to have the symptoms of vein disease. The vein care specialists at Vein 911 are uniquely qualified to evaluate and treat your veins. Are you unhappy with your previous vein treatment? Vein 911 succeeds where others fail. Call Vein 911 today at 855-VEIN-911. That's 855-834-6911 to book your free consultation. Vein 911. We will help you feel great again.
Are you in need of new flooring or ready to tackle that home remodeling project? Then contact Yeager & Company Incorporated, a family-owned, state-certified general contracting business with over 70 years of experience and the recipient of the Angie's List Super Service Award for the last 8 years in multiple categories. Yeager & Company comes to you with their shop-at-home flooring sales service, and their hardwood flooring refinishing is the very best in the Bay. Kitchen and bath design featuring American-made, well-born cabinets, and all work is done by employees, not subcontractors. Learn more at YeagerFlooring.com.
Teresa Turner is a certified public accountant and the founder of Tax Happens, a boutique-style CPA firm providing small businesses and individuals with hands-on, personalized tax and accounting services. Although we would love to tell you how happy their clients are, we would like you to see for yourself. Tax Happens has 21 Google reviews and a 4.8-star Google rating, 17 Yelp reviews, and a 5-star Yelp rating, 38 Facebook reviews, and a 4.9-star Facebook rating. What sets Tax Happens apart is number 1, upfront pricing, 2, clear deadlines, 3, personally available year-round, and number 4, a willingness to empower clients to do as much or as little as they desire. Visit taxhappens.com for more information.
From the Bright House Networks Traffic Center.
Usual morning delays building along the interstates this morning in Pinellas County. Authorities are on scene of a serious crash eastbound Elmerton Road, a little east of Roosevelt. Reports of roadblock in the eastbound lanes. And in Pasco, delays with an accident northbound along Rowan Road, north of Massachusetts Avenue. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Utica Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line at 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by Boys and Girls Club of America.
It's 3 p.m. School's out for America's kids. And when school's out, clubs are in. It's time to support the Boys and Girls Clubs. Visit greatfutures.org.
Partly cloudy, a 40% rain chance, high 92. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 77. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, a 40% rain chance, high 92.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
And welcome back to Focus Fridays on That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. In studio, Julianne Nichols, CEO of Focus on You Strategy, and also Britt Gallipo, owner of Business Builders Bookkeeping. Learn more about her services at businessbuildersbookkeeping.com, and also more about Julianne and her services at focusonyoustrategy.com. So, Britt, tell us some of the things that a business owner should look for in a bookkeeper.
Well, first of all, you want to make sure that the bookkeeper is familiar with businesses like yours. If you're in retail, you want to make sure that that person knows how to handle your inventory. If you're in construction, you want to make sure that they know how construction works and how to record your revenue. Another thing that you should look for is a bookkeeper that is familiar with the software you're using. Lots of people use QuickBooks, lots of people don't. So if you're using something that's a little more specialized, then you want to be sure that your bookkeeper has got experience with that software, because you don't want that bookkeeper to have a learning curve right off the bat. And
I had a hard time when I started in real estate finding a bookkeeper, and I ended up becoming my own bookkeeper because of it, because I sell the bank-owned properties, and there's a tremendous amount of expenses associated with managing bank-owned properties. I got to turn on power and water for the banks. I got to handle the rekey bills, the HOA bills, the code violations,
That's
and
right.
I was also doing it for my partner Christina Griffin, her billing and expenses, and so I was getting receivables up to $200,000 that I had under management. That was my money that I
Right.
had to watch going in and out constantly. And I still do. I get 100 bills a week, all the utility bills that come in. So I got to pay them, submit them for reimbursement. And so I had no clue how to even use QuickBooks when I started doing this. And so it was a big challenge for me. And it was something that all the REO agents in the country had this problem with. So even when I talked with my accountants about it, they're like, I don't know. And so I had to teach myself how to do this. And I've obviously gotten pretty good at it over the last 9 years. I have a video on my YouTube channel. It's very old now, but it's REO accounting for QuickBooks, and I go through how to keep books for your real estate business if you're an REO agent and how I do it. I need to update a little bit. I've learned some things since I've done that video, but I even put out a little manual called The Flow of Funds through QuickBooks, and basically how to use QuickBooks with a focus on REO properties and stuff. But
That's
yeah,
great.
I had a hard time with this in the beginning.
Are you ready to delegate that?
So I have every time I delegate, they make mistakes. So I get
you
nervous.
have got
with
to learn to let go, my friend.
I'm-
You have got to learn to let go.
Yeah, they start messing up because once QuickBooks gets messed up, it's hard to unravel that.
It's hard to fix.
Yeah.
But then that's when you delegate to somebody like Britt.
Right, you got to delegate it 100%. Because if I
Yes.
get in there and start looking how she does things, it's not going to be how I do things, and so that's one
It
of those
might be
things.
better.
Oh, I'm sure it would be better. I have no doubt it would be better. But like I said, I've tried to do that before, and I just have a hard time relinquishing control.
Yeah, it might be better. I just don't trust you.
Well, you don't want someone in there messing up your reporting. You're used to seeing things a certain way,
Right.
and if someone changes up the way you're used to looking at it, then you might not know there's a problem until it's too late.
Now, you are certified in QuickBooks Online, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, what does it mean to be certified? How does that work?
What that means is that I've taken an exam which is administered by Intuit, which is the maker of QuickBooks. It means that I've been through the coursework. It means that I've been trained on appropriate workflows and what to do and what not to do in QuickBooks because, as you said, you can make mistakes that can be pretty hard to untie once you get in there.
And how is the online version different from the desktop version? I've looked at the online briefly, but I use the desktop version still.
And most people are still on the desktop version, but I'm really excited about QuickBooks Online because it puts your data in the cloud. It means you can access it from anywhere. You can log on from your phone, you can log on from your tablet, you can log on from the computer in the hotel lobby, and you can see everything that's going on. It also connects to your bank accounts and your credit card accounts and downloads those transactions automatically, which saves the client a lot of money because they are not paying the bookkeeper to manually enter each one of these transactions.
That sounds like a huge breach risk, though. I mean, how safe is it?
This is the same 128-bit encryption that they use with your bank feed. If you've got a bank app on your phone, if you use online banking, QuickBooks is using the same kind of encryption that the banks are using.
And it's completely different, though, from the desktop version.
It's
so
a
if you're
whole
an
different
expert,
interface.
Yeah, if you're an expert in the desktop or the online, you try to go to the other one. The principles are still there, but it's a
Yes.
completely different screen and flow and all that stuff.
I think that's why QuickBooks introduced a new certification just for the online version.
And do you find that most people prefer the online version or most people prefer the desktop version?
I think most people still prefer the desktop version because they want what they're used to, but the clients that I have that have made the move to online, they love it.
Currently in studio here with Britt Gallipo. She is the owner of Business Builders Bookkeeping. You can learn more about this and her services over at businessbuildersbookkeeping.com. Again, it's focusing on construction and contracting. So if you're out there hammering some nails and putting some shingles on the roof, definitely want to reach out to her for service and get your books cleaned up if they are not right now, especially ahead of the upcoming September 15th, the extended filing, right?
Extended filing, we've got a estimated tax deposit deadline coming up, and we're heading into fourth quarter, and this is the time when you really want to get things tightened up so that you're not scrambling.
Yeah, ahead of a few key dates for many business owners out there. Again, Britt Gallipo, owner of Business Builders, alongside Julianne Nichols, CEO of the Focus on You strategy, bringing out the CEO in you. And learn more about this on focusonustrategy.com and continue the discussion in the Facebook group Focus Fridays. You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
I feel guilty that I can't always be there when Mom feels stuck at home. She was always there for us. But now she can't get out, and I'm not always available to take her places. Someone else needs to help her get around. Then I learned about Home Instead. Now Mom can do what she enjoys because her personal caregiver is there, and I can just be a daughter again.
Are you struggling to care for your loved one? We can help. Home Instead Senior Care. To us, it's personal.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring-type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Road north of Massachusetts Avenue. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Utica Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line at 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by Boys and Girls Club of America.
It's 3 p.m. School's out for America's kids. And when school's out, clubs are in. It's time to support the Boys and Girls Clubs. Visit greatfutures.org.
1250 winds, Weather Center forecast. Look for those afternoon scattered storms and showers once again today as temperatures get into the lower 90s, so a bit cooler, mix of sun and clouds, mid-upper 70s for the low tonight. Through the weekend, 60% chance of rain, low 90s. Tonight at 7:30, Tampa Bay Rays baseball. 7:30 airtime, 8:10 first pitch on Impact Radio 1250 winds.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
And welcome back to Focus Fridays on That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. This segment brought to us by Julianne Nichols, CEO, Focus on You Strategy, bringing out the CEO in you. And learn more about this over at FocusOnYouStrategy.com and register for one of her upcoming CEO exchanges. She does several of them each and every month, and she has an events calendar over there where you can learn more about this. The next one coming up on September 1st, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the C1 Bank on West Shore. And again, a very excellent group to kind of air out your differences or your problems, I should say, inside your business with a group of your peers. That's the idea behind the CEO exchanges. And again, run by Julianne Nichols, CEO, Focus on You Strategy. In studio also with Britt Gallipo, owner of Business Builders Bookkeeping. Learn more about this, businessbuildersbookkeeping.com. She specializes in bookkeeping services for constructions and contractors primarily, but she can also help you out in some other industries. Just reach out to her and have a one-on-one with her to learn more about how she can help you out with your business. Now, we're talking about online versus desktop versions of QuickBooks. There's obviously a cost associated with the online version versus the desktop. How do the cost comparisons work?
The costs compare pretty favorably when you look at it over the product life cycle. Obviously, with the desktop, you're going to spend all the money up front. With QuickBooks Online, you use a subscription. So they'll charge you a small amount every month, and it varies depending on which features you need turned on and what you actually need. So it helps to think ahead of time about what features you're actually going to use before you make a decision. But over the life of the product, it works out to be about the same. And the great thing about the online version is that there's no reason to purchase upgrades. Everything's upgraded automatically as you go.
That's the thing with QuickBooks is every year they come out with a new version of it, and you got to spend another 4, 5, 6, depending on the number of licenses that you got. I mean, that can really run up the bill over $1,000 or more, right? I mean, it's sold by the license, correct?
Yeah.
Is that the same with the online version? You have different users and licenses, and you pay a different fee per user? Okay.
Different subscription levels have different numbers of users, and we just had the transition to EMV cards. We just had the transition to chip cards, and we had a bunch of clients who had to come off their old desktop versions of QuickBooks because the old version of QuickBooks wasn't going to support the EMV chip.
All right. So what are some other programs out there in addition to QuickBooks that people are using? And is there anyone out there that you would recommend for any other reason other than QuickBooks?
I see a lot of people using FreshBooks. There's Peachtree. There's a lot of different programs, and it really depends on what you are looking for. A lot of my construction clients use Sage 300, which is a really great full-featured program for construction.
What is Sage 300, and how does it relate to us, real estate as well?
Yes, it's for contractors, specialty contractors, trades, and property management.
Okay. And so let's go into a little bit more about how construction accounting is different from basic accounting for other businesses. So you talked a lot earlier in the first segment about cash is king. So what are some of the different ways that you set up maybe a chart of accounts for a construction business versus maybe somebody who's doing a retail type of a business?
Well, the most important difference, pretty much any business is going to have cost of sales accounts where you account for the cost of what you're selling on to your customers. The difference with a construction business is that you have to drill down one step further with that, and you have to be able to segregate your costs by job, because you need to know which jobs are making money and which jobs are not. If you don't know which jobs are making money, you're going to estimate the next one badly, and you're going to continue to lose money.
Okay. So, and you also work with other clients, you say. So, I mean, your specialty niche is construction contractors and people in that field. But, I mean, what are some other the clients that you serve?
I have 2 small nonprofits right now, which has been just a lot of fun working with them. I love their missions. I have a medical office. I have a med spa, both owned by the same person. And those are 2 totally different business models. It's been interesting to see the differences between the straight medical practice and the med spa side.
Now, I know we talked a lot about this with Angie last week, Julianne, the need to focus on that niche. I mean, is this something that you've advised Britt to stay in that construction business, or do you see opportunities for her to expand to other clientele? Because I know when I talked with Angie last week, she was a travel agent, but she casted a broad net. But then you talked to her about just focusing on clients going to Disneyland, which to me seems like that would, shrink the bottom line, but it increased her revenues.
Well, actually, Britt comes in the opposite format. She had already been in a niche business and was wanting to expand her business to offer to more industries, and so she has slowly started branching out to different industries, and so she wants people to be aware of her services. So it's a little bit different because she already had a niche and she's built on that, and now she's ready to grow. And in order to grow, if she wants to stay in construction, she could do that, but she limits herself now to just that. And so she was like, I want to do more. So now we're working on how we can grow her business with other industries, and bringing in personal tax returns now is a big one right now.
Now, are you still a solopreneur? Have you brought in your first employee just yet?
I've had a couple of employees. For one reason or another, I just haven't found the right fit yet. But
it's got to be a challenge finding people in the financial services and numbers business, because there's a trust issue that goes on, and they're dealing with funds. I mean, how do you find those types of people out there? Do you put them through an extensive background screening and checking before you put them into the business? I mean, or is this all part of your learning curve right now?
It's all part of the learning curve. I've been really blessed to work with a couple of really gifted bookkeepers that have just needed to move on for different reasons. That's something Julianne's really helping me with, is focusing on defining the role that I want that person to fit into, so that I know what I'm looking for when I go out there.
And this is a big problem that people have, is that when they go to hire somebody, they don't really understand the job position and everything that it does. And this is where we come in with the processes. It's so important to have a process, because if you don't understand what it needs to be done and how it needs to be done, how do you know you're putting the right person in there?
Right.
So that's what we're working on right now, is working on what are the processes and what is actually the job that she wants to delegate to. How much of this she wants to relinquish so she can move on and be more global.
So what is the goal right now in your business? Is it to add an employee or two within the next several months? I mean, where do you see your business like in 1 year from now? This is a lot of our listeners are that solopreneur, and they're struggling with getting to the next step. And obviously hiring is a big concern, but you're working with Julianne with Focus on You strategy, learning to focus on your business. Where do you see yourself now in 1 year?
Where I see myself in 1 year is really having mastered delegation. I really would like to
Wrong
be...
answer. On a beach in Hawaii.
Well, that works too.
You're welcome.
I would like to be in a position where I can kind of take a step back from the day-to-day. I would kind of like to be in a position where I'm managing my client's business from 50,000 feet instead of 10,000 feet, and I'm not involved in each individual transaction that goes into the computer. I'd like to have enough business to support having an employee who can do some of that for me.
So we're really basically getting her out of the technician role and into more of a manager, being the CEO of her.
Right, because I can imagine as a bookkeeper, it's very easy to just sink an entire day behind just one client, entering in data and all what goes on with bookkeeping. It's kind of hard to step out of that employee type of a role that what a bookkeeper tends to be, correct?
Oh, absolutely, and I actually do love bookkeeping, so I have fun doing this kind of stuff, and it's hard to drag myself away from it. But if I'm going to grow my business, I have to learn to do that.
Now, you talked about expanding some of your services into preparing tax returns and some of the other filings. Tell me about some of the other services that you offer through your bookkeeping service.
We do individual taxes, and we also do tax returns for businesses such as payroll tax returns, which are the 941s, the 940s. Individual tax is something I'd really like to see grow over the coming year.
Now, a lot of people use online payroll services. You mentioned the payroll services. I've been using Paychecks for the last 9 years. Why would somebody use their bookkeeper or their accountant to do payroll services? Is there any benefit to using them? I mean, Paychecks isn't that expensive. I think it's like $70 a month or something for the payroll service. What are some advantages and disadvantages of using maybe one of the big corporate names for payroll?
Yeah, Paychecks is a great service. The great thing about Paychecks is that you don't have to worry about those kinds of tax filings. They're going to do your payroll tax returns for you. They're going to make sure that your W-2s go out and they're correct. If you have reporting to do for the Affordable Care Act, they're going to make sure that's taken care of. And really, for a lot of small business owners, that's a piece of headache that they don't really want. And outsourcing is a great solution for them. It works less well for construction businesses because the big payroll companies like Paychecks and ADP, they don't have the same kind of job costing capabilities that most construction owners are looking for. We talked about how you need to know which jobs are making money. Well, to know that, you have to know which people are working on which jobs. And if you're sending your hours into Paychecks and they're paying based on a 40-hour week, then you basically have to go in and do payroll again because you have to say, well, they worked 10 hours on this job and they worked 30 hours on this job.
Do most contractors that you work with outsource the majority of their subcontracting positions? Because I know with workers' comp, it's a challenge for a contractor to build up a strong business with employees because of the high workers' comp that they pay. Do you see that the majority of people that survive in contracting early on end up subbing out their work to independent contractors to survive?
It's becoming more and more focused. A lot of general contractors are just not self-performing work anymore.
Yeah, it's difficult. Is it due in large part because of worker comp regulations and expectations, or is there a broader picture that I'm missing when I talk about this point?
Some of it is workers' comp. A lot of it is just managing the historically high turnover we've had in construction, and it's hard to find and keep good people, so you want to focus on what you do the very best, and you want to be able to focus on keeping good people who do what you do really well and sub out the rest.
I just know one of my good friends is a contractor, and he talks about the costs of workers' comp all the time, and he's been stuck in that kind of just outsourcing the sub work to independent contractors, and it's been a challenge for him to grow. And he talks a lot about workers' comp. Obviously, I'm not in the business, and I don't know if there's other things, because obviously some people really do well in construction. So, and you've seen this. The ones who do well in construction, what are they doing right? What differentiates the top contractors from all the other contractors that are out there?
Hiring Mexicans that get drunk on the job site all day?
The contractors that do really well are, like we said, they're focusing on what they do well, and they are in a position to have strong cash flow.
So
Cash is everything.
So what are some of the upcoming dates that we need to be aware of? Obviously, I talked about the September 15th deadline for people who extended their taxes back in April, or actually it's March for businesses. But what are some of the upcoming dates that business owners need to be aware of coming up?
Well, this year, I believe for the first time, our deadlines for W-2s are going to change. We're going to have to provide W-2s to employees by January 31st, like we've always done, but they're also moving up the deadline for reporting that data to the Social Security Administration, and the same with 1099 forms. We're going to have that data to the federal government a lot earlier than we have in the past. Oh, no. So that's something to be aware of. I believe the new deadline for reporting those 1099 payments is going to be January 31st. Because
so where does the average business owner keep up with all this information? I mean, you talk to your bookkeeper or your accountant, that's great, but is there like a good site you can go to just keep up with all this regulation without all the disclaimers and all the information that are on some of these sites?
She's like, no, hire me.
Yes, exactly. If she's listening, she would be saying, you can call me anytime.
IRS.gov is a great source.
I know, but it's packed with so much information. It's just like,
It is packed, but if you download Publication 15, it's got a tax calendar in it.
Okay.
It's got the dates every year that you need to have this done, that you need to have that done. I print it out every year. I stick it on my bulletin board. It's
perfect.
Terrific.
Publication 15 on IRS.gov. That's exactly what I was looking for. Now that I know that, I never knew that before. So perfect. In studio right now with Britt Gallipo, owner of Business Builders Bookkeeping, and you can learn more about her services over at businessbuildersbookkeeping.com, and also alongside Julianne Nichols, CEO, Focus on You Strategy, bringing out the CEO in you. Register for one of her upcoming CEO exchanges, the next one being on September 1st from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the C1 Bank over on West Shore, over on the events calendar at focusonyoustrategy.com. You're listening to the Focus Fridays edition of That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. If you've been following That Business Show on Facebook and Twitter, you may have noticed the quality of some of our images. That's because one of our sponsors is pro photographer Rick Taseda, a member of the Professional Photographers of America. You can view his extensive work by going to his website at ricktaseda.com or call him for an appointment to chat about your photography needs at 813-641-4757. That's 813-641-4757. Rick Taseda Visuals. Call him for your next event or project. In an age when the good and the better vie for attention, it is the best that stands out. The best of Tampa Bay from Proudly Florida is the love story for the city of Tampa, celebrating success, sharing achievements, a tribute to enterprise and community spirit. Let Proudly Florida showcase your business to your city, your nation, and the world. For more information, email info@proudlyflorida.com and be sure to visit proudlyflorida.com.
Who doesn't have a smartphone these days? And of course, there's an app for everything. Well, almost everything. That's why the folks at Popcorn Apps started developing mobile applications. They saw people like you with genius ideas, unable to make those thoughts a reality. They develop applications for tens of thousands of dollars less than you'll find anywhere else, and will turn your idea into a reality in a matter of just a few months. Think you're not ready? Think again. They are your one-stop shop for mobile application development. See them at popcornapps.com with a K in popcorn, or call them at 727-415-6705 for your free consultation and pop your kernel of an idea into $1 million business and a world changer starting today.
Have you ever tried to buy a home for your family only to find out that you don't qualify for a mortgage loan? You thought that after 20 years as a customer of your bank, they would help you when you needed it the most, right? Unfortunately, the banks of today are not the banks of our parents and grandparents, and our relationships with them just don't matter anymore. My name is Frank Cotto, and I'm the president of the Lincoln Lending Group. We all may need a bank, but we also need a Frank, and that's what I'm here to do for you today. Lincoln Lending Group will waive all of your lending fees, which include your mortgage, application fee, your underwriting fee, processing fees, and any bank points. Just call 813-MORTGAGE. You drop the E, and we'll drop the fee.
Teresa Turner is a certified public accountant and the founder of Tax Happens, a boutique-style CPA firm providing small businesses and individuals with hands-on, personalized tax and accounting services. Although we would love to tell you how happy their clients are, we would like you to see for yourself. Tax Happens has 21 Google reviews and a 4.8-star Google rating, 17 Yelp reviews and a 5-star Yelp rating, 38 Facebook reviews and a 4.9-star Facebook rating. What sets Tax Happens apart is number 1, upfront pricing, 2, clear deadlines, 3, personally available year-round, and number 4, a willingness to empower clients to do as much or as little as they desire. Visit taxhappens.com for more information.
How many times have you said to yourself, I wish there was an app for that? Stop wishing and start making the world better. Turn your brilliant idea into a profitable business by using Popcorn Apps. Their affordable app design will help get your blue sky idea or proven business to the next level at a fraction of the cost of other developers. They will help you get through all the steps needed to make your thoughts become live. See them at popcornapps.com with a K in popcorn, or call them at 727-415-6705 for your free consultation and pop your kernel of an idea into $1 million business and a world changer starting today.
Savvy business owners utilize technology to connect with customers, communicate among teams, and collaborate with partners. Even with advances in technology, you all know it's not infallible. Where do you turn when your technology starts working against you? Who do you depend on to keep your team productive? Don't wait until your technology fails you. Get ahead of the crisis and contact contact the professionals at Alpha Computing Solutions so they can show you how to keep your technology running smoothly. Visit them online at www.alphacomputing.com.
From the RP Funding Traffic Network.
On Port and Campbell Causeway, if you're heading eastbound out of Pinellas County into Hillsborough, stop and go ride there. A serious accident involving an overturned vehicle at the Big Bridge is blocking the left lane and seeing the usual delays building northbound 275 along the Howard Franklin. See a traffic problem? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Utica Hillsborough traffic tip line at 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by Lead Safe America. Do you live in a historic home? Are you renovating? Your children could be at risk of lead poisoning. It takes just a microscopic amount of lead dust to poison a child. Learn more at leadsafeamerica.org.
Partly cloudy, a 40% rain chance, high 92. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 77. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, a 40% rain chance, high 92.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
And we're back to the Focus Fridays edition of That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Talking to Julianne Nichols and Britt Gallipo. Britt is the owner of Business Builders Bookkeeping. Learn more at businessbuildersbookkeeping.com. And Britt, you mentioned during the break that there's some upcoming rules or law changes with regard to workers' comp.
We've just had a couple of court decisions that are going to change the cost structure of the workers' comp system. Basically, the cap on attorneys' fees has been thrown out, which means that there's probably some rate increases coming down the line. And my construction clients have been told by their carriers that there's probably going to be midterm rate increases somewhere between 17 and 20%. So if the construction people out there haven't talked to their brokers about this, you probably want to get on the phone to your broker and start.
Which means building costs are going to go up on top of that to compensate, and just another bad news with regard to
a trickle down effect.
News to with regard to regulation and everything. So just another reason to have a bookkeeper hand in hand with you to keep up with all the different regulations and changes that are going on. Now, people say that they can go online and use the tax software to prepare their own returns, and this is for just like the individual filer, and this is something that you're working to get yourself into to increase your business. Why would one use a tax preparer?
Well, it's the same thing as QuickBooks. You can go online and you can use TurboTax. You can go online and use any of the tax programs, and they're great programs until you don't know where to put something. And you don't want to take a deduction that you're not entitled to and get in trouble for it, but you also don't want to miss a deduction that you're entitled to.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about some of the things that the individual that needs to be aware of when they're filing their taxes. Obviously, documentation is a concern, but what else do you need to know about this?
Well, self-employed clients in particular and small business clients need to be aware that they need to be making estimated tax payments throughout the year. And this is something else that just reinforces the need either to be doing your own bookkeeping and be on top of it, or have somebody who is helping you do your bookkeeping, because the more accurate those estimated tax payments are, the better you're going to do.
One of the things that I think is really important to understand is that this is a team effort. This is not just hire a bookkeeper, just hire an accountant, just hire a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Those three need to work together.
Right.
So when you hire a bookkeeper and an accountant and a lawyer, they need to be able to talk to each other. And a lot of times we're not allowing that to happen. So we need to make sure that the bookkeeper can talk to the lawyer and the accountant and vice versa. They all need to work together as a team.
Now, how many people do this stuff well naturally? I mean, nobody's ever taught to keep books. And it seems to me like, because I'll try to teach like an employee to keep books. They just don't have it usually. It takes that type of personality that you have, that an accountant has, to really see that detail and everything. This is not something that comes naturally to people, is it not?
No. And a lot of really good bookkeepers are self-taught, just because there are people with that natural grasp of numbers who just understand those flows.
And so, I mean, when you're working with people, I mean, with the people that you work with, how many people are doing it well, though, naturally, that you see?
It doesn't come naturally to most people. You really have to put yourself in the mindset of knowing where you need to put things, and a lot of people will go out and they will take a class just to help out.
And I think it just overwhelms so many people, and they just kind of just let that go. And I talk to a lot of business owners and the solopreneurs, and they'll be like, I didn't file taxes last year, 2, 3. I found some people like 4 or 5 years behind. They just they just get overwhelmed. And how do you recover from it? Because I always wonder, I was like, well, how are you not in jail? Isn't that tax evasion? I don't understand how do you catch catch up from something like that?
Well, the important thing to do is just to take a step towards correcting it. And the first thing you've got to do is you've got to get those returns filed that you haven't filed in the past. That's interesting because I just recently had a conversation with a tax attorney who specializes in that. There are people who haven't filed tax returns in 5, 6, 7 years. They're behind on payroll taxes. And the most important thing to do is to make contact with the IRS and to start figuring out how you're going to get it cleaned up. And if you're in a situation where you haven't filed returns for multiple years, you might want to get in touch with a CPA or an attorney who specializes in that kind of stuff.
Because the IRS is the most powerful collection agency there is.
Oh, absolutely.
But I've noticed a trend, though, with like people that haven't filed. It seems like they can go like 5 years before, as long as they don't file or do anything, before the IRS seems to catch up with them.
What ends up happening, though, is that when they do go to file, now there's a red flag
Right,
that
no, that's
comes
what happens.
up.
You're right. That's exactly.
Wait a minute. All of a sudden now, where have you been?
Yeah.
And it does raise a red flag eventually. It's going to catch up with them eventually.
But it does. They don't have some type of system that catches you immediately is what I'm getting at. If you miss that tax deadline, it's not like you're getting a letter in the mail and say, hey, where are your taxes? They don't have that system. But if you filed, you don't pay, then you're getting the collection notices left and right.
Eventually, they will garnish everything you own and they will lien everything else you own.
Yeah, but I've noticed that is because I've known many people do this, and it seems like the average is about 5 years if without doing anything. But you're right. As soon as you file, then it becomes a nightmare for the person and stuff. So, and you see these attorneys on late night TV that are catering to these people. If you have back taxes, call us and we'll get you all settled up for pennies on the dollar. Is there any relevancy in that type of stuff?
I must be watching the wrong channels. That's not the late night stuff
I mean, you see those things, and they're the ones that are just the bloodsuckers and stuff. But should somebody even respond to something like that?
You just have to use your good sense. You can't let your fear get power over your common sense. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah. Well, like I said, when you're your business owner out there in the community, you see a lot of different things out there, and I just don't know where how some people aren't in jail. I'm just like, you haven't filed in 5 years and you're still running a business. I'm competing with you. It's just not fair to the people who are filing.
Well, it's people like us that if we did that, we would be like immediately they would be like, what? You haven't filed in the last 6 months? We're coming after you. Some of these people, you like, how do they get away with it? You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and that speaks to another talking point. Some people are just good at getting away with things, and the people who do it right, I mean, if we tried to break a law or do something bad, we'd be arrested or caught immediately. It's
absolutely.
Just being a criminal and doing things against the rules is a talent in and of itself. So, but nonetheless, we got to wrap up this Focus Fridays edition of the program. Julianne, thank you so much for supporting the show each Focus Friday.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And also thank you to Britt Gallipo, owner of Business Builders Bookkeeping. Britt, thank you so much for being in studio too.
Thanks, Jamie.
Learn more about her over at businessbuildersbookkeeping.com. Coming back from the break, Dr. Ron Eccles is going to hold it down for me as I'm going to take the hour off in preparation for my upcoming class on HUD training. So if you're a realtor in the area and like to head over to the iHeart radio station, we'll be putting on a program for realtors today from 9 to 11. Also, be sure to learn more about this program over at TampaBayRadio.com and follow me on Twitter, Jamie_Maloney. You've been listening to Focus Friday's edition of That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
The